are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's pretty obvious by now the San Antonio Spurs are in a rebuilding process as they keep tearing down the foundation and stripping the walls and removing the studs. But should the Spurs continue this trend in order to perhaps up their lottery odds? Welcome back to Locked On Spurs on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Kins 5 San Antonio. Hope you had a great 3-day holiday weekend. Short week, so hey, there's the positive of that side, short work week. But nevertheless, we're going to be talking about that. Should the Spurs continue stripping down the walls? We're going to get our guest thoughts on the NBA draft, trade, and take a look ahead at the Summer League team. They get in action this Friday. So Spurs action is back on the court. We'll definitely be talking about that and more. I am joined by my good friend. He is with San Antonio sports star, Brandon Medina. Brandon, welcome back to Locked On Spurs. Hope you had a great 3-day weekend, man.
Oh, man, it's been beautiful. It's been wonderful, except for the fact that my life was torn apart by this DeJounte Murray trade. I remember sitting there at the table, man. I'm excited. I know we'll get into the draft and what's next for the Spurs and stuff, but, I was excited. It felt like everything I was saying was playing out exactly how I said it. Almost me and you were talking constantly. And I was like, man, everything I wanted the Spurs to do, especially in the draft, they were doing. And I'm sitting there eating dinner with my wife. And then she looks at me and she's like, how was your day? And I get the news and I push my plate away as dramatic as I could. And I said, what? I've lost my appetite. My life is over right now. I was like, this is it. So this is life after death, if you will. But I mean, hey, listen, I'm excited to talk about today, man. It's been a wonderful time to kind of relax. I think a lot of us drank probably more than we should have for this 3-day weekend because of this DeJounte news. But regardless, in all, man, we are all still very much diehard Spurs fans. We live and die. And, the thing is, there are people who get paid a lot more money than we do to make these decisions, and they make them for some reason. We just got to see it through.
Absolutely. Well, let's go to dive into it. You give me your initial reaction to the news, but at the end of the day, did you ever think that they would trade away, perhaps their best player, an all-star guard? Did it ever creep into your mind?
It never, not this year. No way, not this year. I think if we're talking next year, a contract year, okay, I can understand where there's maybe some thoughts of, hey, if the offensive mindset of DeJounte didn't change where he becomes, an incredible scorer. I don't know that, we offer that max as easy as maybe we do to others. And so I understand that part. But as far as this year in 2022, where he just came off an all-star season. Now, granted, right, it wasn't just a straight up all-star season. He was somebody that was thrown into the all-star game, but still an all-star nonetheless. I thought with the draft that we just had, with the capital that we have for money and drafts in the future, I just assumed DeJounte was going to be part of that. Me and you had talked a long time ago on this very show. And I told you, I don't buy jerseys of players that are currently playing in the NBA.
Yeah, you tweeted me that too. Yeah, that was funny.
I did. Yeah. I tweeted you that because I told you, man, I don't buy jerseys of people who are in the NBA currently, regardless of how good they are. Simply for the fact that anybody is tradable, anything can happen. And for me, I don't want to be the guy that has the Patty Mills jersey or the Danny Green jersey and he's not playing for the Spurs. Now, Patty Mills, maybe he's Patty, maybe Patty because he put in his years here. But I'm saying, I don't want to be the guy with whoever bought a Richard Jefferson jersey, you're dumb, right? That's on you. That's on you. But if you have a Kawhi Leonard jersey, it should be burned to ashes by now. But if you have a DeJounte Murray jersey, you expected him to be a cornerstone player for the Spurs, and unfortunately, that's not the case. So I think I want to say I saw something recently that there was talks about how they knew they were going to go into a full rebuild, and they didn't want him to waste his prime years or whatever the case. I have no idea. They knew something clearly we did not. I'm sure DeJounte is more than happy to go to a conference that, let's face it, is easier and has a Hawks team that is very tenacious and has a lot of potential as well. So I'm excited to see what they can do. I am interested that Atlanta went all in, though, the way they did for DeJounte as well.
Yeah. There was a pretty penny to get DeJounte Murray, and the Hawks paid for it. Trey Jones and DeJounte Murray. DeJounte Murray actually said in his introductory press conference that, and this bothered me a little bit, Medina. This bothered me a little bit. when he
Uh-oh.
said that he and Trey Jones had been talking for weeks about teaming up in Atlanta. So, I get it. These kids nowadays, it's not like the old days back when I was, watching the NBA, where good players stayed with their teams. That was it through thick and thin. Now we're seeing the buddy team up, and now it's
Yeah, I
impacting the
will say,
Spurs.
but does
Yeah.
that surprise you? Like Trey Young does not seem like the guy. Like I don't know that Trey Young DeJounte. I just don't get it. I don't get the. I don't know. Maybe I'm just the
Well, here
dumb
we
one
go.
here.
No, Brandon. Clutch Sports. Need I say more?
That's true. That
That
is very
I
true. I
mean,
understand, but
yeah,
I'm just saying, as far as those are two very different players, very
yeah.
different personalities.
Mm-hmm.
This is not. I feel like this is not what we've seen in the past, where it's the LeBron to Dwayne Wade to Chris Bosh, or
Right.
the Steph to Clay and Kevin Durant, like, or even Kevin Durant to Kyrie. Like those are all kind of similar personalities wanting to team up with each other.
Right.
Whereas it's like Trey Young and DeJounte Murray, that's like I would have had no idea that they were even friends, much less
Yeah.
talking for weeks. So
Well,
I'm just gonna see.
on paper, it's a good pairing. On paper,
Yeah, of
it
course you
makes
have
sense.
offense
On
and
Yeah,
defense. Yeah,
yeah. So we'll see if it pays off for Atlanta for paying that high sticker price for the Spurs. But nevertheless, they made the deal. Life goes on. It's Although they won't say it, it's pretty obvious next season is going to be a very long season. Brennan, I'm predicting Houston Rockets bad season, like in the
oh
last
my
few
gosh.
years. What do you think?
Oh my gosh. I'll tell you what, the day before, check this out. You'll find a kick out of this, Jeff. The day before the trade,
Hmm.
me and my fiance and my family were literally, no BS, like a swipe of a card away from buying season tickets. And
No
I
way.
dodged the bullet. I dodged the bullet because I would be so unhappy right now if I paid what I was going to pay and DeJounte's gone. So
Dang.
definitely one of those things where, like I said, this just was not even in the realm of possibilities for me. We've always said anybody is tradable, anybody can be not replaced, but can be moved. And so I would have thought Vassell, Keldon,
Hmm.
anybody but DeJounte. However, now that I've had a few days and a lot of alcohol to think about it, I think looking back, it's on paper the Spurs did get a lot back for a
Hmm.
player that realistically barely made the All-Star game. But he's going to be a player that's going to be very, very hard to replace, especially with how wide his skills
Hmm.
were, and then also just the stat stuff. And the dude was grabbing rebounds, assists, scoring, started to find a little bit of a mid range and could create his own shot. I mean, he was the only guy on the floor that could do a lot of things. Where now we're going to be basically playing NBA 2K in real life, where we're like, let's see what we can do with trades and signing and growing these young guys. So it'll be fun to see. But the Spurs of the old, he was the last one of really to learn from the Duncan era.
Hmm.
And so you look at it, the Spurs of the old, this is a completely new franchise, completely new faces. There's going to
Hmm.
be a lot of people walking around the streets of San Antonio that can't name one Spur on this team.
Wasn't it that not that long ago where everybody was celebrating the young core, DeJounte, Lonnie, Derek,
Yep.
Keldon? That was going to be your core. That was going to take us to the promised land, and only one remains, and his name is Keldon Johnson. But yeah, let's go and dive into it. Kind of the big topic right now is, are they done yet, or should I say, should they continue this strip down, break it all down and push forward for the tank season that's about to come in a few short months? I mean, you look at I think the biggest suspect right now that could possibly get moved is Jakob Poeltl. That he is probably,
Right.
a lot of teams were chasing him last season. I think it was Charlotte and Toronto, where even there was reports of Chicago looking for him. Wasn't that too long? I think in the offseason, it popped up again that Toronto was still pushing for Jakob. I guess individual players aside, or if you want to get into individual players, but do you think the Spurs should say, you know what, F it, it's fire sale everybody because we need to get this rebuild really underway and really pushing our draft odds higher up. We have big news. The one, the only NBA Jam is back. Arcade One Up, the leader in at-home retro arcade games is not only bringing the best game ever back, but they made it even bigger with a, wait for it, Shaq Edition machine. People are obsessed with NBA Jam. I'm thrilled to tell our listeners that you can once again play hoops with an NBA legend in this arcade classic. Jump clear across the screen, set the ball on fire in one of the first sports games to ever feature real digitized NBA licensed teams. No fouls, no free throws, no quarters required. Compete with friends and family through all new Wi-Fi leaderboards, making you connected more than ever. Pre-order right now at arcade1up.com. That's arcade, the number one up.com for an estimated early September ship date. Arcade 1UP is the place for fun. They got even more classes: Golden Tee, Mortal Kombat, many others starting at just $399. Check this out. They're giving away an NBA Jam edition to a Locked On listener. Enter for a chance to win a game console for your man cave at arcade1up.com/locked on. That's arcade, the number one up.com/locked on. You got until July 8th to enter to win NBA Jam Shaq Edition console. Don't miss out. Enter today and ask yourself who you're going to play with.
Like I said, man, after a lot of thinking and a few drinks, I'm all in, man. I'm all in. If we're doing this, let's do it. Let's not. You can't be 1 foot in, 1 foot out in a rebuild. That's why Orlando Magic and Houston and Charlotte and those that are just starting to kind of find their young core. That's why it's taking them so long. You can't be 1 foot in and 1 foot out. If you're gonna do it, let's blow it up. Let's get. The thing is, Jakob has been in talks of moving for the past 2 years.
Yeah.
So let's make this happen. You look at what you got him for. You got him thrown in that trade.
He was a throw-in
for Kawhi. He was a throw-in. Yeah. Nobody thought that this kid would still be here. What, 4 years later, 3 years later, whatever, how many years? This is not somebody you thought you were gonna be keeping in the squad. He grew into a very nice player, a very good guy that maybe can come off the bench or start for a lower tier team. So I think you bought low, extremely low. Time to sell high, man. You could definitely get a pick or two for Jakob, or definitely get a budding star if you throw in Jakob and another pick that you have that you just had already, or another player, or whatever the case. But I do think Jakob needs to be on the move. I don't know how much he's making, Jeff. That's going to knock down our salary cap or anything. But I do think for a player of his stature who we bought low and can sell high on, I'm all about it, especially where bigs are very hard to come by in this league. And I think he's a player that could really help push a team like, let's say, Memphis, or a team like you said, Toronto, to maybe make a run because of his just gritty play and his overall just big stature. So I love Jakob, but I've been pushing for us to move him for quite some time.
The move of DeJounte, obviously was shocking. A lot of people didn't think the Spurs would do that. I originally thought it was just the GMs being GMs. They're GMing. That's all I thought. I thought Brian Wright, sure, he's going to be listening to offers, but there's no way he's going to trade DeJounte, especially in this rebuild, thinking he could be not the man in the rebuild, but just a very big piece in the rebuild. But
I am upset that we didn't get John Collins, though. Like, if that was the move, I am upset that we didn't pull something back.
Yeah, well, John Collins will get you W's. The Spurs don't need W's right now.
That's true too.
They need to up their lottery. But I gotta, if you put it in perspective, if this team, Brian Wright, and I guess apparently Popovich and RC Buford still have their hands in the GMing part of the team, because Brian Wright did say that Pop and RC signed off on this. But Brian Wright is the guy, so we'll just go with him for now. If the move for DeJounte shocked everybody, that should be a signal to the rest of the team that, you know what, you're not untouchable. And if the right deal comes around for you guys, Keldon, Devin, Primo, perhaps they'll do it. But whatever's remaining of the roster right now, Brandon, who do you think needs to stay in just to be an integral piece moving forward?
Oh my God, what a question, man! What a loaded question. I don't know, man. To be honest,
I know it's tough, right?
Yeah, dude. This is me being very transparent. And Spurs Twitter can hate me, they can love me, whatever the case. I have no emotional attachment to any players we have right now. Currently, aside from DeJounte that's moved on, I don't think I have anything attached. I mean, I love the progress of Devin Vassell, so it applies to Devin Vassell. But when you and I talk off script and we're just drinking at a bar, we're just texting each other, you and I both have said that Keldon has not nearly impressed as what we thought he was going to be.
Right.
Especially coming off the Olympics. And I don't know if it's just slow moving, it's a slow burn, but Devin Vassell is quickly taken over as far as one of the best young stars in our squad. So I would say probably him, especially with Lonnie walking again too, that we kind of knew was on the horizon.
Yep.
So I would say Devin Vassell is probably the only one that I could see. But even then, you put Devin Vassell. We're seeing all of this through the view of silver and black, glasses. Because if we talked about the Houston Rockets building around Devin Vassell, it would be a joke. It would be laughing about that.
Right.
I don't think you're building around him. I just think to answer your question on what young star do we need to really look at keeping and growing, I think Devin Vassell could truly become DeMar DeRozan almost-esque if he was to see through his potential. I just don't know, man. It's a very, very tough situation the Spurs find themselves, and hopefully there's something on the other side of this that I guess they're shooting for, whether that be Victor Wembanyama or whatever the case. There's somebody they're shooting for in the future to get this many draft picks and this much draft capital and not get anything in return.
People close to the players' organization have told me that after the fallout of the DeJounte Murray deal, that behind the scenes that is their goal, is to up the lottery odds. And I get it, you're capped out at 14%, but they're willing to get that 14% if it means getting that unicorn out in France. Who knows? Maybe, I know he's not playing with Tony Parker anymore, but maybe Tony Parker can grease the wheels a little bit. Hey, Webby.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but dude, I mean, the dude's 7'3", right? Something ridiculous.
Yeah, I heard. I mean, I didn't watch it, but I mean, I read that he pretty much torched Team USA, not the Team USA, but like a college squad in some FIBA game, that it was just like he was making Chet Holmgren look like a punk on the court, and just really taking it to that young Team USA squad. I mean, who knows? This, what do you say, like 7'4", 7'3", something like that. The wingspan alone is 7'1". I read and that's like nearly his own height, and he can shoot the three, shoot the midi, attack the rim, obviously play in the paint and defend. But we'll see if that's their goal. That's what I heard. But you're looking at this, and we're talking about should they continue stripping it down. In the stripping of the down of the franchise, Brandon, that means you're going to entrust a Josh Primo. You're going to entrust of three rookies who now I'm predicting would probably spend a cup of coffee in Austin. Because if we're doing this rebuild, screw it, just throw them out there. Let them get the run in San Antonio. I do suspect they maybe get a little burn in Austin, maybe a little bit, but not as much as I earlier predicted. But if you're entrusting the team to a Josh Primo, three rookies, Keldon, who I think can step up his game, Devin, I really believe he can step up his game. I mean, what more do we have to understand? That we know what the game plan is for this team, and that is maybe become the worst team in NBA next season, Brandon. BetOnline is your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's NHL playoffs and Major League Baseball. BetOnline is your continuous source for all your sporting wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. And BetOnline remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcast news this season. Then we got the odds on if Becky Hammond will return to the NBA as a head coach, or who could be the next free agent landing in San Antonio. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, including MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today. You got yourself a mobile device. You got yourself a computer, laptop, tablet. Go learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Yeah, I mean, this is a pivotal time to become a Spurs fan if you weren't one. This is a great time for maybe, young kids or your spouse or whoever who does not care about the Spurs. This is the perfect time to jump in because of the fact that you're going to start seeing the creation of stars, right? We don't have any right now. There is none. So I think when it comes to the stripping down process, I agree. Austin does not need to play a factor here. Like, let
Mhm.
Primo go ahead. If you want Primo to start, I'm not gonna be against it, man. Like, let's throw him to the fire, throw him to the wolves, and see how he battles it out. Because it's very much one of those things. Like, let's see who's gonna sink and let's see who's gonna swim. Like these guys, I hate the fact that we look at the NBA from this lens of these young stars. We constantly try to mature them and try to grow them
Mhm.
when it's like, hey, listen, if you're in the NBA to me, I'm sure you'd agree, is the hardest professional sport to go professional at, to go
Mhm.
pro. I mean, these are the best of the best, and there's only 15 roster spots to a team. These
Yep.
kids can clearly play. Let's let Josh Primo play. Let's let these guys play. Let's let Malachi get in there. Let's let Sohan get in there. Let's let these guys legitimately play with some incredible veterans on the other side of the floor, where we're going to see how do they deal with being defended by DeJounte when he comes back? How do they deal going up against DeMar DeRozan, going up against veterans like Al Horford and Jokic and
Mhm.
all these players that, can help really grind and build them to be better. I mean, you're going to have to take a few butt kickings before you can see the top of the mountain again. And I think if the plan for us is maybe, I hate the word tank, but to respectfully lose because we're just not as good, I'm down, but let's make sure we get some growth with that. Make sure Devin Vassell and Keldon Johnson are playing, 35 minutes, 40 minutes a game. Let's make sure they're getting as much time as they can, as much time as their bodies allows. Let's put them out there on the floor and let's see who can come out and show out, because everybody has um, a plan until they get punched in the mouth, right? That's what they
Mhm.
say. And you look at the team that we just had, the names you just mentioned. Derek White did not just become Derek White until he was given an opportunity. And Lonnie Walker did not just become Lonnie Walker. He was just like Josh Primo, getting like 3 minutes a game for like 2 years, and then came in and became incredible. And now he's going to the Lakers. And DeJounte, obviously the same thing. He waited his turn, got his tore it up. So this is right now. It's an interesting time. If you're a Spurs player and you're young, there is no waiting. There is no, oh, I gotta wait for Tony Parker to retire, or Manu Ginobili to retire, DeJounte to move on. This is literally every position on the floor is up for the taking.
Yeah. Yeah, time to shine. I'm looking at Devin and KJ as the ones that are really in the hot seat to step up. Let's see what you got. There's no need to say, well,
Yeah,
DeJounte, everything runs through him on both ends. Defensively, he was the guy. Offensively, he was the guy last season. KJ, let's see what you got, Mr. Olympian, gold medal
yep,
winner.
yep.
Devin Vassell, I really, really, I'm going to be let down if Devin doesn't have a good season, because in that playing game, it was him that was leading the team. It wasn't KJ. It wasn't DeJounte. It was Devin Vassell. So, and to me, he seems to have the most. I mean, I have to say Keldon is a ball of energy, because he is, and I'm not downplaying, but what I like about Vassell is that he ain't afraid to walk it and talk it if things are bad. Remember last season, early in the season, when they had that horrible consecutive losing streak? I think it was like back to like some ridiculous set, and then Vassell came out post game, sat down. First thing he said is, "What is going on here? Like, what are we doing here?" I mean, I love that, and I could definitely see him take the next step. But yeah, I mean, look, credit KJ. He did come on late last season. His 3-point shot, it shot up tremendously.
Yep, yeah, you
So
start to find it.
yeah. He started to find it in the second half. So we'll see if we do that for a sustained full season. But there's so many, question marks. Can Zach Collins alone be healthy for a full season? We're about to find out. We talked about Primo. Is he ready for the big stage, the bright lights? We're about to find out. Will
Yep,
KJ and Vassell step up their game? They are now seen as the leaders, the veterans. I mean, even though they're
yep. They're the
kids,
captains of that team.
they're the captains now. So a lot of question marks going on, but we'll definitely see if the Spurs are not done wheeling and dealing. Yeah, the free agency has begun, and teams are still making moves. I mean, the blockbuster one recently was Utah, Minnesota, or Go Bears. So We'll see if the Spurs are going to pull the trigger again. But hey, speaking of the Spurs are back in action. Well, not your San Antonio Spurs, but the Summer League Spurs are back in action this Friday out in Las Vegas. They're going to play a minimum of 4 games. And depending on how those 4 games shake out, they could possibly play an additional 2. I think that Summer League team is going to be fun. The trio of rookies is going to be there: Sohan, Malachi, and Wesley. I think Josh Primo's on the squad. Joe Wieskamp's on the squad. There was that Dominic Barlow. He's on the squad. Darius Days is on. The Summer League squad is loaded. But I guess I'm going to ask you, Brandon, remove the names that you likely to see to blow up, like your Primos and even the Spurs rookies. Why should I throw in the rookies? Who are you excited to see that's not Josh Primo or Joe Wieskamp? Who are you excited to see get some action?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, man. And I think for me, Wieskamp, I mean, we really don't know anything about the guy, right? He's just been in Austin for a while, and he was a second-round pick, so it makes sense. For me, it's not just the Primo. I would love to see. I mean, going back to this, first and foremost, this is going to be the first Summer League in a long time where we have like 5+ legitimately on the roster players playing in Summer League. Normally, most teams have 1 to 2 and then a bunch of fill-ins that maybe can make a roster late. But the Spurs are literally stacked to the brim with just rookies and second-year players for the Summer League. So for me, I would love to see Malachi Branham and Wieskamp kind of go and prove their worth and see what they can do, and see these other rookies as well. And Josh Primo obviously is unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you think of it, he's going to have to grow into that KJ and Devin Vassell role. He's going to have to be a leader in the locker room, and so he's going to be a leader in this Summer League. And what's crazy is he's a second-year player, and he might be the youngest player still, one of the youngest players still that's on this damn Summer League. So Josh Primo is the only one with NBA experience to that level. So I think him having that's going to help this Summer League roster. And I would not be surprised, and nor should anybody really, I'd assume, if the Spurs make a deep run in the Summer League, just because of the fact that they have so much talent on their Summer League roster because of the just amount of draft picks that they had over the past 2 years. So it should be a fun time. And I think aside from that, there's a couple guys that I think are going to impress that maybe we've just picked up that maybe can go ahead and go find themselves a contract. I want to say, I'm losing the name. Help me out here, Jeff. Is the kid from Houston playing there, right? There's a kid from Houston on the roster, like from the University of Houston.
Let me pull that up.
I want to say
fast.
I want to say that there's one. What's his name? He tore it up in the March Madness tournament. I want to say the Spurs have him on the roster. But besides that, back to the original point, is just I really want to see Josh Primo take a step in leadership as far as being a floor general and a point guard. And I would love to see where Wieskamp is, because be honest with you, man, the fact that I'm in media and I have no idea where his game is at is not a good thing. And so for me, I haven't seen enough of him. But with Malachi and Sohan and Wesley and all these other guys, I think just getting this experience.
You're talking about Kyler Edwards?
Yes, dude. Yes.
Okay.
Edwards. The dude is a menace. The dude is so good, and I think we could see him go and get a minimum contract somewhere else if he was able to show out. But I do think him being on the Spurs bench is going to really push the Spurs roster. So I think this Spurs team is actually going to be really, really fun to watch in Summer League. And this is always one of my favorite times, because you're watching a team that is so raw and has no idea how to play with each other, has no idea what to expect when it comes to the NBA. And so this is going to be a very, very fun time. And I think for Spurs fans, you should be locked in to every Summer League game to see exactly what your roster is going to look like moving forward as we rebuild this squad. Because I mean, this Summer League team could very well be your starting 5 in the next 3 to 4 years.
I'm excited to see Dominic Barlow, 6'10", 220, from that overtime elite squad. The guy is just an athletic freak for his size. They can do it all. And as a matter of fact, he went undrafted and was in New York City, Barclays, in the green room waiting for his name to be called. It didn't get called. Left Barclays, got the word right then and there, out on the streets of Manhattan, that the Spurs signed him to the Summer League squad and, a training camp invite. His family gave him his cap. like a Spurs cap, and he would just bust it out in tears, crying and everything. And also, too, again, a bouncy big that the Spurs need, and that's him right there, Dominic Barlow. Another guy is Darius Days for me. This guy's just a brute inside. I like to see what he's going to do. LSU forward, 6'7". Yeah, this Summer League squad is going to be fun. It gets going this Friday. He is Brandon Medina. Brandon, tell everybody they can chat with you and give you their takes on this episode of Locked On Spurs.
Absolutely. Go ahead and go follow me on Twitter at Big Papi Brandon M. That's BIGPAPI Brandon M. You can follow me there on Twitter, as well as if you are an MMA fan, if you're a soccer fan, a fantasy football fan. I do a lot of different stuff for the San Antonio Sports Star here at ESPN San Antonio. And then, of course, we've talked about it before. Once you get in good with me, you get in good with Jeff. You get yourself on Locked On Spurs. That's how it goes around here.
That's how it rolls. I
have the in with the good old Jeff Garcia.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're one of the few that have the open invite to Los. And you just cash it in whenever you want, like you did months in advance for the draft. That was hilarious. That was one of the funny. Yeah, you're like, I'm reserving my seat now. That's what you told me months ago.
Yes, and I will say the amount of swagger and confidence that followed that show, knowing that I just crystal balled it and had like literally 100% hit rate with just picks that I was throwing out that the Spurs should take. Jeremy Sohan was my second pick I would have took there. I kept saying Jalen Duren, but it was just incredible to see the reaction of people.
Yeah, a lot of fans are giving you love, man.
Yeah, dude. Well, it was because this wasn't like some media hot take where it's like we're doing it and we already know the picks or what they're gonna be. We did this like a couple of days in advance. Like this was not like a day of thing. Like I was just throwing guesses out based off of different mocks and what I thought fit the team. And so it's awesome to see. But now that we got the picks that I wanted personally, now it's time to see what they grow into starting this Friday at the Summer League. So I'm really, really hyped up to see what they do. And obviously, with it being in Vegas, if there's ever time to go support your Spurs and have a little bit of fun, that's the time to do it.
I did last year's Summer League, and I had a lot of fun. I'm just gonna leave it as that. He told you how to follow him. I'll tell you how to follow me on Twitter at Jeff G Spurs Zone, and subscribe to Locked On Spurs wherever you get your favorite podcast: Google Play, Stitcher, iTunes, now on YouTube. We thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. I still say go check out Locked On Hawks. Medina, they're popping their collar right now. They're thinking they got on the Spurs. So go check out Locked On Hawks. If you want to give them the business, make sure to subscribe to them as well. But for Brandon Medina, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.